Does it ever feel like nothing ever changes, like it all just stays the same and nothing's getting any better? We're going to think about that today on Now What Devotions from Trinity Lutheran Church in Cyrus. It's kind of an odd, warm, breezy day here. We've had rain and it's been cold and fall is rapidly approaching. Folks are getting harvest in quick. And this week we are in the book of Luke. And Jesus gives us a parable that is surprising on multiple levels. And he speaks to what can happen in our lives, which is it can feel like what we care about, what we do, doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to the larger powers and the larger issues that surround us. So Jesus tells this story. He tells a story about a woman who has been wronged, a widow. And remember, in his society, the widow had very little power. She was dependent upon the family that hosted her of her husband, or if they chose not to host her, then she was on her own. But either way, she didn't have an income. She didn't have any legal say in things. She had to go and ask for help because society did not provide her ways of authority. And so this widow goes to a crooked judge, a judge who doesn't care, a judge who looks at the world and at justice and says he just has respect for nobody. And isn't that how it feels sometimes when we look at the world and then we pray to God and what we get back seems to be silence? So this widow bothers this judge so much that the judge finally gives in. And it sounds like might actually be afraid of just getting slapped by the lady. And he says, I fear no man and I don't fear God, but I'm going to deal with this because this lady's driving me nuts. And Jesus suggests to his disciples and to the folks around him that this is a way to think about prayer. So just to offer a few thoughts here. I remember the other day, I was at one of my kids' cross-country meets, and I picked up a pair of sunglasses for running because my other ones, every time I'd run, they like shake around, it drove me nuts. And so these sunglasses were advertised as being like, they don't wobble around while you run. So I ordered a pair of these. Having ordered them and having some, I started to notice them all over the place. A bunch of people had these same sunglasses. In my yard, I have a tree that's growing really quickly. And I just can't stop noticing it. And now around town, I'm noticing lots of trees. Maybe you got a car of a certain color and now you see cars of a certain color. When we pray for something that we care about, it causes us to notice it in all sort of places. This woman prays for justice. It causes the judge to start thinking about justice and her community around her. And her persistence leads to change. But her persistence also leads others to notice incremental change. And I think incremental change is a really hard thing to notice. And one of the thoughts I would offer you is that when we pray, not only is our loving God who cares going to respond, but it also causes us to be people to notice those things for which we are investing in, that we care about, that we are thinking about and looking for. If I pray for somebody else to have compassion, my compassion increases. If I pray for patience, not only does my patience increase, but I start to notice places where I can be patient. There are changes that occur, both in for what we pray for, and in the world and in us. That's your thought for this week. Where might you put in that mental, emotional prayer effort? Not just because there's nothing else you can do, but precisely because it is the thing that you can do. And it makes a difference. I'm Pastor Chris from Trinity Lutheran in Cyrus, signing off for now.